Hello and welcome to Roaming Norway. We are in a very remote area right now and I want internet. So what do? Well, I open my phone and use 4G or 5G, which is there is plenty of 4G and 5G reception in the entire country of Norway, almost. So why would you ever buy a Starlink in Norway? Well, I'm not really sure why you would buy a Starlink. Doesn't even work in tunnels when driving through tunnels, so it can't be used for streaming road trips. Almost all tunnels in Norway have full 4G reception, so that means that the cell reception or the 4G or the 5G reception is actually better than Starlink generally in Norway. But Starlink does offer better speeds at certain locations, and in very remote areas where there are no 4G connection, it might be better. In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about Starlink and how I can use it for my video production with, in this case, my Tesla, with a product from Joa, which is basically a Starlink power supply that works over USB-C. Okay, so something that I find really cool is that you can run it over USB-C if you have an USB-C adapter. So here you can see you have the normal DC input that Starlink uses. I wish the Starlink did use USB-C, so you could use a USB-C cable directly. I'm sure that will come in the future, but that's not the case at the time of recording this video. So here you have the DC input and you have this USB-C thing. So comes in this package, and in my case I also got a 12-volt adapter which you can use, but we won't use, hopefully. It comes with some cable organizers, I guess that's nice. And I do know that you can use the Starlink from inside the car, but I think it's better to work outside. Right now. Okay, now I understand why it has a DC input, the DC pin instead of USB-C. It's because it's watertight, the seal there. Okay, that makes sense. And the first thing we are going to do is something really cool. Here is a Anker power bank, and they're not sponsoring this video, unfortunately. But if you know someone at Anker, I would love some sponsors for this video. Anyways, here we can measure how much it draws of power. 32 watts. 32 watt. So the Starlink Mini, in this case, draws 32 watts. And what does that mean for us? Well, it means that it can be run off the USB-C ports in the Tesla itself, and I'll show you that later. I just want to get this set up right now. Here I have my phone, and it's connected to full 5G coverage. So let's run a speed test, because 5G coverage is plenty of in Norway, especially in the cities. And then outside the cities we mostly have 4G almost anywhere. Even in pretty remote areas and tunnels, like I mentioned earlier in the video. A download of 939 megabits per second. Oh, it has a software update as well. Over-the-air updates to my Starlink dish, which is nice. Okay, it's activating the settings for the Starlink. The reason it took a while is because of secure payment rules and stuff like that. Sometimes I do wish that I just got scammed instead of having these extra security checks at every possible payment. And in Norway it's around $50 equivalent a month for the roaming subscription, and that's 50 gigabytes. And then you have like unlimited for around 80-90 US dollar equivalent a month, which is quite expensive, I would say. Let's use this one then. The Google speed test. 14-15 megabits per second. I hope it's not too windy for the microphone today. Let's see here. Upload is 5.3 megabits per second. And I promised to test 4G for you, so I'll just let this test finish. I disconnected from the Starlink Wi-Fi, and we have 4G here, full 4G reception here. And 4G is 300 megabits per second. And upload is 57 megabits per second on 4G. So once this has finished, I'll jump over to 5G and run this same test again. So I'll just go into cellular here and then I'll choose my number and I'll set 5G on. There we go, and test again. 5G has more speed, 5G has much more speed here, so that's very, very nice. So for gaming, latency is important, so I'll see if I can test some latency as well. But yeah, latency is 24 milliseconds latency on 5G. Let's test the latency. For latency on 5G was 24 milliseconds, not megaseconds. That would be insane. Starlink is connected. And oh, it's better reception now. 30 megabits per second, almost. 20, and there's a boat coming. And 3 megabits upload. So like much slower than 4G and 5G. 65 milliseconds response time, so triple the response time almost of 5G. Here I have the Starlink connected via USB-C inside here. And I think this is the best use case for the Starlink. It's emergency internet roaming. It's emergency internet, and you can just have it connected in your car, so you are sure you have internet connection if you need so. So you can just have it here. I can't remember the spec on these USB-C ports, but yeah, they are at least good enough to run the Starlink. I think they are 60 watts, if I'm not mistaken, in this car. And I know what you are going to say is that Starlink is for those that don't have 4G or 5G or even 3G connection, the places that they live. And in other countries like the United States, larger countries that have just a ton of area to cover doesn't have as good mobile data connection. And that's a fair point. The Starlink is absolutely amazing, and it can actually be more affordable than these expensive, super expensive installs of copper internet, which absolutely sucks. So I get the product, absolutely. And there are many areas where this is true. But it's also important to note that Norway has some of the... It doesn't have some of the... It has the most difficult country in the world to build out mobile data, because mobile data is severely affected by the terrain, not necessarily the size of the country. So even here in Norway, we have actually managed to build out a great 4G and 5G network, which makes this useless for many people, but very useful for people who still live in these areas or have a cabin up in the mountains where they might not have 4G connection. But for me, traveling on the roads, the road network in Norway, I don't know if this product really makes sense for me. And I just wanted to make a video on it in Norway here. What will I do with my Starlink then? Well, I'm going to keep it, because I know there are areas where I travel and a lot of areas in Norway where there still is bad 4G and 5G reception. And that's true. And this will be a good solution for those areas, because there are no connection at all. But as long as you have any kind of 4G connection in Norway, I think it will beat this product. And since we have 4G repeaters inside most tunnels, for example, car streaming, and 4G repeaters inside parking houses, that's areas where you can't even use the Starlink. So, yeah, you need view of the sky to use the Starlink, of course. But I'll keep this, I'll keep the Starlink as a backup. I will keep it and test it once I go on longer road trips. And I also travel to other countries where 4G and 5G reception absolutely sucks. So, I think that was my conclusion of the Starlink Mini. But I do want to mention that if you get the Starlink Mini, especially if you live in a country with bad 4G or 5G reception, or you don't have any kind of internet service at your home or similar, I would recommend picking up a USB-C adapter, so that you get the versatility of connecting your Starlink dish via USB-C. This one works perfectly fine, and I can see how much power it draws, 20 watts, so yeah, pretty great. And I love the Jowa cable, and I'm very thankful that they sent me the cable to test this, and I'll keep this as my emergency internet connection.